Imagine waking up, um, finding out your company's search engine grabbed a corporate credit card at 3 a.m. and it just, bought 50 server racks on its own. We used to treat AI like a fast encyclopedia. But today, it's an autonomous intern with a blank check.
Right, well, an encyclopedia just waits for you to turn the page. But an agentic AI actually reads the page, decides what book to buy next, drives to the bookstore, and executes the transaction.
Yeah, it's a completely different paradigm.
Exactly. That active loop of reasoning and executing is what requires an entirely new enterprise control plane.
Welcome to the deep dive. Shibin, as an enterprise principal AI architect, you already know the consumer hype around Google I/O 2026. Today, we're cutting past those shiny demos to look at what this means for your actual enterprise architecture. Okay, let's unpack this. Google I/O 2026 drew a definitive line in the sand with announcements like Gemini 3.5 Flash, Gemini Omni, and Antigravity 2.0.
We are officially moving from chatbot AI to governed agentic AI. What's fascinating here is the fundamental shift in how the software operates. It's evolving from a standalone tool you query into, well, an active operating layer.
An operating layer that actually does the work for you.
Right. Take Antigravity 2.0, for example. It isn't just generating text anymore. It's generating code, deploying it natively into workflows, and actively traversing your corporate systems to complete multi-step tasks.
But here is where I have to push back a bit, or, at least look at the structural risk. Giving these autonomous agents the ability to browse internal web portals and execute code natively, doesn't that completely break traditional identity and access management?
Actually, no, it doesn't break traditional IAM. It bypasses it entirely.
Okay, bypasses it.
Yeah, if you try to secure these agents using standard user roles, you've already lost. Because agents take independent action, a simple model API is just no longer enough. Enterprises need what are being called managed agents.
And a managed agent is essentially a remote, sandboxed Linux environment, right? You're completely isolating the agent.
Precisely. You isolate it so it can't interact with the broader network unchecked. In this new architecture, tool access becomes the absolute new security boundary.
So those API connectors aren't just convenience plugins anymore.
No, not at all. Those connectors to your internal HR or finance systems, they must be treated as highly privileged infrastructure.
Which means human approval gates can't just be an afterthought.
Exactly.
If you have a 247 background agent like Gemini Spark running, you have to hard code exactly what it can execute automatically. And what requires a human to explicitly click approve before the action fires.
That is really the only way to govern it. And it gets more complex when you factor in Gemini Omni handling generative media.
Right, because agents can now generate or modify media on the fly. That's why they highlighted tools like Synthid.
Yeah, Synthid is absolutely critical here.
We aren't just talking about stopping deepfakes on social media. Inside an enterprise, we need Synthid to invisibly watermark outputs. That is how you prove provenance.
Right, verifying whether a critical financial report was created by your employee or quietly hallucinated by your background agent.
Wow, yeah, that's a scary thought.
It is. But you can't just slap Synthidite on an agent and call it governed. Monitoring, watermarking, and sandboxing everything an agent does in real time, well, it requires immense continuous processing.
Right, you're constantly running simulations and telemetry checks.
Yes, which brings us to the hardware reality. If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is exactly why the AMD Spark and HCL Tech announcements are such massive infrastructure signals.
You just can't run these continuous multimodal workflows on thin air.
No, you really can't.
Because running a chatbot only costs compute when the user actually hits enter. But an agentic operating layer is thinking and running constantly.
Exactly. To support long-running agents that are constantly reasoning and interacting with sandboxed environments, enterprises need serious localized compute capacity.
So we're talking major GPU investments.
Major GPU investments, edge compute to handle local sandboxing securely without latency, and AI PCs. The infrastructure strategy simply has to move in lockstep with the governance strategy.
So what does this all mean for you, Shibin, and your enterprise strategy? We're talking about building a rigorous control plane.
To prepare, your architecture team must define a strict agent risk taxonomy. You need to map out exactly what level of autonomy each agent has based on the systems it touches.
And practically that means requiring those sandboxed execution environments, right?
Right. Building human approval gates directly into the workflows and implementing aggressive prompt injection and tool misuse testing. The era of uncontrolled delegated authority is officially over.
It really is.
This raises an important question.
Hit me.
We talked earlier about that autonomous intern grabbing a corporate credit card. As you build this governed operating layer, how will enterprise liability models adapt when a fully sandboxed 24/7 agent hallucinates and attempts an unauthorized sequence of external financial actions via APIs at 3 a.m.?